Hello and welcome to another Read With Me. I am Isabel Bedell and I am here to read with you chapter 3 or chapter 2 of The Art of Spending Your Money by Morgan Housel. We have read, this is day 3, but it's chapter 2 because in the first day we did introduction, we did the author's note, then the second day we did the chapter 1, and now we're in chapter 2. And I'm really excited about this chapter. I actually got to read it last night before this, and it's a really great awareness chapter. It's one of those chapters that once you read it, it kind of stays with you throughout the day, and you start recognizing, hey, you know, this is why I do this. This is why I did this. And maybe this is why someone else does this. So it does bring a sense of compassion and empathy for others once you read it. He finished off last chapter by saying, a healthy financial philosophy is having respect for others' experiences, an appreciation of your own, and an understanding that all behavior makes sense with enough information. And then now we're going to get into what he calls a story about respect and admiration. And I'm excited to share this with you guys because, with everything that's happening in the world today, respect and admiration is very needed. And not only that, but I feel a lot of people want it, they desire it, they look for it, they yearn for it, and they might not know how to receive it because maybe things or situations are not going their way, or maybe their time of growth is happening to them right now, and their reaping is not uh, there yet. They're just sowing, 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 sowing. So this chapter, I feel, and this is my personal opinion, that it can be very beneficial to you, to me, to those that are ready to receive it. Okay? So let's get on with it. May I have your attention, please? You think you want nice stuff, but what you really want is respect, admiration, and attention. If you're confused about what a better life would look like, one with more money, it's an easy assumption. It's such a simple idea that influences so many people. Living a good life is one of those complicated topics that philosophers have debated for thousands and thousands of years. And more money is such as easy and quantifiable thing to chase. But the desire for money and things that it can buy often obscures what they actually want, respect, admiration, and they want it from other people. An easy connection to make is that if you had more money, you could buy a nicer car and a bigger house. And if you had a nicer car and a bigger house, people would respect and admire you more. Sometimes they will, but let me share with you my personal take. I've written letters to both of my kids, hoping to pass along a few financial lessons I've learned in my life. Something I wrote to both of them is that you might think you want a nicer car and a bigger house, but I'm telling you, you don't. What you actually want is respect, admiration from other people. And you think that having nice stuff will bring it, but it rarely does. At least as much as you expected, especially from the people that you want respect and admiration from. I love the idea of something called the reverse obituary. Try this, write this down. What do you want your obituary to say? And then figure out how to live up to it. It's the cleanest, simplest way to plot out what you want in life and what truly matters. Everyone's self-written obituary will be different, but I suspect most people would want theirs to say, you are loved, you were respected, you were admired, you were helpful, you were a good parent, a good spouse, a caring friend, you were an asset to your community. You made a contribution to your industry. You were wise, funny, and smart. Now realize what's not in there. Almost no one in this exercise would think about their obituary mentioning how much horsepower their car actually had, or how many square feet their home is, or how much they spent on clothes. Your salary would not be mentioned, nor how many carats are in your wedding ring, nor that you redid your kitchen with imported Italian marble. I like nice things. I have fancy things, but I'm always struck by the contrast here of what people want versus what they aspire to. The reason few material things would make their way into your obituary is because you inherently know those things don't actually matter. In his book, Status Anxiety, Alain de Botton writes, the predominant impulse behind our desire to rise in the social hierarchy may be rooted not so much in the material goods we accrue or the power we can wield, as in the amount of love we stand to receive as a consequence of high status. We view nice stuff as a ticket to what we actually desire, which is attention. This is not a modern realization. It has little to do with the social media or people becoming more materialistic. It's a deeply human reaction. The great economist Adam Smith wrote in 1759, to what purpose is all the toil and the bustle of this world? What is the end of avarice and ambition, of the pursuit of wealth, of power and preeminence? Is it to supply the necessities of nature? Of course not. Smith reasoned because even low-wage workers in his time had food, shelter, and families. What actually drives them was that to be observed, to be attended to be taken notice of, sympathy, complacency, and approbation are all advantages that we can propose to derive from it. It is the vanity, not the ease or the pleasure which interests us. It's an astonishing statement. We value the attention money brings us more than we value the comfort and convenience of stuff that money can buy. Now, this applies to different people with different intensities. And even if you accept the desire for nice stuff, it is a strategy to gain attention. And I think it's a fair way to do so. So what? If respect and attention are what I desire, and having an amazing car provides it, what's the problem? Maybe there is no problem, but let's make a more nuanced point. There are cases when people's desires to show off fancy stuff is because it's their last remaining or even only way to gain respect and admiration. And if you struggle to gain respect and admiration through your intelligence, your humor, your empathy, your capacity for love, you might default to the only remaining and least effective layer, your stuff. Look at my car, beep beep, vroom vroom. The three most important variables when seeking different ways to get people's attention, a prerequisite for them to respect and admire you are how effective is it? How durable is it? And who's paying attention? Let's break down each one of those. Number one, how effective is it? Spending money on nice things might be the quickest way to get someone's attention, but it's a visible public and doesn't require talking to anyone. How durable is it? Number two, if I'm impressed with your car today, I might give you a little of attention, but tomorrow the shock wears off. A month from now, I yawn. And then a year from now, I couldn't care less. Number three, who's paying attention? Mostly strangers. And even then, there's a subtle point that when a stranger notices your car, they're gawking at your car, not at you. Does your spouse notice your car? Your parents, your close friends, your kids? Of course. But it's probably the last thing they use to measure how much they respect and admire you. They tend to care much more about how kind, funny, intelligent, helpful, and loving you are. So spending money is probably the fastest way to get attention, yes, but it's not the most durable attention. It's probably the least effective towards the people who respect and admire who you actually are and who you actually desire to be loved by. It's like junk food, okay? Very tempting, immediately satisfying, but long term, very damaging. The point is not to say, don't bother trying to gain attention with your car, home, or clothes. Social signaling is important to fitting in and doing well in life. But once you view spending money on stuff to gain people's attention as a junk food of respect and admiration, the desire to keep spending on things that just show off how successful you are diminishes. My guess is that your favorite comedian, athlete, or actor turned out to be broke. If they turned out to be broke, your opinion of them wouldn't change that much. It wouldn't impact how much you admire them because you admire from the talents money can't buy. Former football player Chad Johnson once explained why some people think he's cheap. There's no need to show off your material wealth when your name is so big that people already respect and admire you for your talents alone. If you can get to a point in your career where your name becomes bigger than anything you can purchase, that's that's where your value is. There's nothing I can buy that is bigger than my name alone. So it made no sense to buy jewelry, to buy clothes, to buy cars. I'm just me. It's pointless. Even when Amazon was huge and successful, Jeff Bezos used to drive a Honda Accord, and today he has a $500 million yacht. Is he respected and admired more for it? Not in the slightest. He could ride a cheap bicycle, and people would admire him for being the greatest entrepreneur of our era, because that's what he is. Steve Jobs lived in a home that didn't even have furniture. It didn't matter. He was an icon. There are all famous people, extreme examples, but for us ordinary folks, there's so much to learn from this. If you gain your respect and admiration for who you are rather than what you own, your desire to spend more money on flashy things plunges. The same is probably true for the people you admire most. I love and admire my parents, and let me tell you, it's not because of their clothes. Isn't there so much to learn from that? Shouldn't gaining respect and admiration through what you do instead of what you own be the goal? In her book, Never Enough, author Jennifer Breheny Wallace writes that pride can be felt two ways, intrinsically and extrinsically. When another opinion tells you how you should feel, what psychologists call hubristic pride, so much modern spending is an attempt to foster the latter, but so much of the deep, fulfilling pride we naturally crave comes from the former. Being proud of who you are and what you've done more than what you've been wearing and driving. Perhaps most importantly, psychologist Tim Kaiser once pointed out that those who most value extrinsic pride have less bandwidth to pursue intrinsic pride. Hmm, let that soak in for a second. So, intrinsic, extrinsic. If you, this psychologist, Tim Kaiser, he pointed out that if you have those who value extrinsic pride, so the car they drive, the clothes they wear, the flashy thing on their wrist, if that's what they're focused on when it comes to interpersonal relationships, connection, deep emotional IQ, EQ, okay? That's where it gets really messed up. The intrinsic pride is not there. They don't have the bandwidth. So keep that in mind next time you're like judging, you know, maybe you look at somebody and or maybe you're like thinking of you, and you're like, you know what, I need to get this shirt because they're gonna look at me differently. They're gonna love me for this shirt. This watch is gonna make me, get that job, land that meeting, get that client, whatever. Okay. Obviously, appearance matters, but that's not what's gonna make it. It's like those chase, it's like those chasing junk food, material status. They have less remaining appetite for nourishing food, family, friends, intelligence, humor, love. In long-term studies, those who valued extrinsic pride the most were likely to become anxious, depressed, and to abuse alcohol. The desire to show off can be so natural. I've noticed that the people who most aspire to own fancy sports cars tend to be young people, especially men. Perhaps when you're young, without much life experiences, your ability to gain respect through your wisdom, intellectual intelligence, and love is lower than it will ever be later in your life. So you naturally gravitate to your last remaining option, which is material possessions. And I have felt this so clearly in my own life, and I agree with him. I've experienced this myself as well. My dream to one day own a Ferrari was high when I was young, dumb, and had zero skills and even fewer job skills. Today, I'm completely content with my modest car and aspire to gain respect and admiration by being a good father, husband, and decent writer. Things that I had no chance of offering the world when I was 20 years old. The danger comes when you underestimate what people actually value you for. I have a good friend I've known for decades. He's one of my favorite people. He also happens to earn a decent but not substantial living. It bothers him, and he often talks about it, how it makes him feel lesser than some of his peers. One day I told him, listen, you're a good dad, you're a good husband, you're an honest person, a hard worker, helpful friend, and a funny joke teller. You've probably earned 98% of respect and admiration that I'm capable of giving you. If you also happen to be rich and successful, I might bump you up to 99% or something, but let's not pretend that it makes so much more of a difference. I like you for who you are, not how much money you earn or the car that you drive. Once you see people being respected and admired for the reasons that have nothing to do with material possessions, you begin to wonder why you have so much of a strong desire of those possessions. Everyone's different. All behavior makes sense with enough information. But I tend to view my own material desire as a loose proxy for the inverse of what else I have to offer the world. The higher my desire for fancy stuff, the less real value I have to offer for things that actually make me happy. It's a simple idea that keeps my priorities in view. What respect and admiration do I want? Mostly my families and close friends. What do they pay attention to? Well, how I make them feel, how I treat them, and how helpful I can be. Do they care about my nice stuff? Meh, not so much. It's so easy. Two things I try to keep in mind here. Number one, observe what actually makes you happy and maximize that. Like many people, I've seen a range of income during my career. What strikes me is that things that make me happy with a higher income are the same things that make me happy with a much lower income, aka spending time with my family, doing things outdoors, a long chat with a friend. If flying first class to a five-star resort and building sandcastles on the beach with my kids is a 10, playing Legos with my kids in the living room floor of a small apartment was still a solid 8 or 9. I love nice vacations. I look forward to them. I spend more on them now that I have a higher income than I did a decade ago. But once you identify what those vacations make you happy, the thing you're pursuing might subtly shift in ways that put you closer to your ultimate goal. And in this case, from I should spend more money on vacations to I should spend more quality time with my family. Number two, show off the inside of your house, not the outside. You don't have to take that idea, which I borrowed from the author Robert Greene, literally. The concept is very helpful that if you want to be proud of your success and display it with nice stuff, make it most visible to those who respect it, whose respect and admiration you desire the most. I love that idea of my friends and family that they can benefit from the nice things that I've purchased. I care far less about the strangers that might think if they happen to see those things. Another important point here is you might think that displaying your success to strangers bring your attention and admiration, but often the emotion, it's actually stirring up a little bit of envy. Ben Franklin used to say that one of the tricks in life is realizing that people will admire you more if they aren't jealous of you. It can be hard to tell when the transition between admiration and jealousy takes place, and it's common for a flashy person to think that they're being admired when they're actually being envied. This is especially true when what made you rich was some form of advertising your success in a way that made others want to help and support you. When admiration turns to envy, that support dwindles and people's tolerance for your errors shrink. Keep that in mind. If you race up the social ladder, seeking attention along the way, are you in the process making others envious of you? And is that ability you are overlooking in your blind quest for more? Dutch political philosopher Jan Willem van der Geest has a good saying here. The appetite for applause counts amongst the lowest of human character traits. The appetite for applause counts amongst the lowest of human character traits. Deep, very deep. Mm. Columnist David Brooks once made the distinction between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Resume virtues are like things like salary, job titles, net worth, and how fancy your possessions are. Eulogy virtues can be boiled down to how much people actually respect and admire you. I've always thought I always thought it to be profound when choosing what to pursue in life and think about what a reverse obituary could be. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in history who could literally buy anything he wanted, once said, when you get to my age, you really start measuring your success in life by how many of the people that you want to have love you actually do love you. He went on, that's the ultimate test of how you have lived in your life. The trouble with love is that you can't buy it. You can't buy it. You can buy testimonial dinners. You can buy pamphlets. You can buy sex. But the only way to get love is to be lovable. It's very irritating if you have lots and lots of money. You'd like to think that you could write a check. I'll buy $1 million worth of love. But it doesn't work that way. Here's a little excerpt that he added, which is a really good one. Maybe you already have enough. And it looks like this. I like this one. One of the most powerful money tales is the parable of the Mexican fisherman. An American businessman visits Mexico and meets a local fisherman. The American is shocked to learn that the fisherman only works a few hours a day. What do you do with the rest of your time? The American asks. Well, I sleep late, hang out with my family, I read, I take naps, I play guitar with my friends, the fisherman said. Well, you're doing this all wrong. I have an idea. You should work all day, borrow money to buy another boat, hire more fishermen to work for you, and you can make so much more money. And then you'll be able to retire in 10 years. And then the fisherman asks, well, what would I do in retirement? And then the American responds, you could sleep late, hang out with your family, you can read, you can take naps, you can play guitar with your friends. It ends like that. And it just comes to show, that's a parable. It's meant to for you to read through the lines. And I really love that because that's the end of chapter 2, by the way. I really love this because it just really brings light into what us human beings, okay? I'm not an AI. You're not an AI, hopefully. Us human beings with a beating heart, with blood flowing through our bodies, that's what we value at the end of the day. That's why, we get married. That's why we have kids. That's why we choose to travel and connect with people and even do these videos, right? It's not because of the views. It's not because of what YouTube pays. It's not because of anything like that. It's because of the impact that maybe somebody needs to hear through me, through my voice. Maybe I'm that channel. Maybe I'm that guidance. Maybe I'm that spark that accidentally hits their feed. And then they can hear that when they're in their lowest point in their life and they start to click and they realize, hmm, yeah, no wonder I feel like crap. That car that I just, you know, dumped a bunch of money on is not really helping me get higher into my natural self, in my authentic self, or maybe that house is not really what you wanted. And also ask yourself, have you ever bought something and then a week later you're like over it? You know, I know that has happened to me. I know that has really, really shaped a big part of my life back when, let's say, you have all the things in material things you can buy whatever you want. But then there's something that's missing. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's the connection with friends. Maybe it's, the time to spend with family. Those birthdays, those celebrations, those festive moments that light up your heart, light up your soul, you know. All those things are what makes us human. So don't don't take it lightly when your heart and your body is speaking to you and it's literally saying, that's not for me. Because our bodies are very intelligent. And sometimes if we just listen a little bit closer and take the time to make a decision, whether to purchase something for X or purchase something for X, you know, whether it's emotions, whether it's for vanity, whether it's for showing off, or whether it's for fulfillment, I'm not saying that, things don't buy you, money can't buy you happiness because it sure can. It can buy you a ticket to see your family. It can buy food to feed you that day. It could, anything. Okay. Just take the time to reflect and you'll start asking yourself what's most important. And in the next video, we're going to go into what the happiest people that Morgan knows do. So I'm really excited for the next chapter because it really flows, all these chapters really flow with one another. And this is why I love this uh, author, Morgan, and I love these types of books because they're so open, they're so broad, and it allows you to not only concentrate on something specific that is important, but also it allows you to see things in a different light. So if you enjoyed this video, if you got anything out of this video, I encourage you to live your best life, number one. Become authentic with yourself. And then three, like, subscribe, do your thing. down below because there's a lot more coming. We're excited. We're excited for what all this is turning out because it's brand new for us in 2 years' time that we last did this. So let's see. Excited to have you here, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.